All right, and now with the sound actually on, I'm going to make an introduction. Hello, my name is Roar, all the way from the small socialist utopia of Denmark in Scandinavia. I am joined here tonight by Tanner from Canada. Hello, Tanner,
Oi!
and of course,
Sorry. I mean, hey there, buddy, eh?
hey there, buddy A. And tonight we're going to do a world building live stream with all of our in our world Serena, which is where we play usually during the during the day or during our weekly bi-weekly game Storms over Serena. And I have been making a big old map here. Let's see. Now I'm just checking if everything is all right. Tanner, it seems like your webcam might be frozen though. So
It kicks in every about 70 seconds or so.
yeah, now it does something in the stream I can see. All right, perfect. As
And then
long
it stops. It's okay.
All right, but that is the main event. So today, Tanner, what are we going to do? We're going to have a look at this beautiful map I've made. First of all, I have been using Inkarnate for quite some time to just make some of the world maps, and we have started with this central area here around the Battlesand Sea, which is what is colloquially known as Serena, and from there we have just started world building out. So what I have done is I have made these continents, all of these kind of plates, and all of this here is kind of made up. All of these land areas, but there's still a lot of the world, as you can see here, that we want to fill in with things, and basically just having some interesting creative talks, improvising, and doing some map making. And and we have a plan to do this area here on the right, Tanner. Is that correctly understood?
Sure, yeah. I'm game for whatever. I'm just excited to dig into this. Sink my teeth into one of these crazy places that you've made.
All right, perfect. Well,
I, I'm not super familiar with Inkarnate. I made a few battle maps for that or whatnot, but I've never gone into this kind of detail with it, so it's pretty exciting to see.
yeah. Well, it takes some time getting used to, but I quite like it, right? But also, you have to
Well, it's
kind of.
gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we can have a look around here. I don't know if do you have to wait for the lag to end on the stream to or should I actually just share the incarnate with you here on Discord? I don't know
Yeah,
if
if
you
you
can see
share
that.
it on Discord,
Yeah, it
share it on
is.
Discord,
It is
it'll be a lot better.
shared on Discord. Oh,
Screens around the benefit of like 5 monitors.
yeah. So now what we have known and have looked at in the campaign Storms of Zero, now we have only been over here in the Kalar Sand Sea to the left, and uh, uh, and what we had available was just the area around here, the battle's end, when we started making our characters. And since then, I have I've just got a bit wild here with the western part of the Serenade continent here, from the Great Furnace and the illuminated primacy of Soln up in the north, uh, down here to countries like the Pact of the Plains, the Commonwealth of Grongvar, and the Sisters of the Eternal Garden. Lots of interesting things happening here. Um, some of this is only names on a map and is places we want to have a look at and maybe fill out later on. I made the Western continents here with Jonas, who plays Bjorn in our campaign. A very interesting kind of uh, uh, Western continents here, with a lot of ruins up north, and then down south there's two distinct kind of countries existing there. Um, we still have a lot of places to go in Suriname. The southern continent, the islands, and then of course the eastern coast here, east of Skyrath. And that is what we're going to have a look at today, Tanner. And then I will return with other people from the cast, Leon, Alex, and Evan. We'll do other parts of the continent, basically. So, um, yeah. So how I usually do this is that I go down and I find a place to start, and I just try to figure out, all right, what should be here, what kind of what kind of culture are we talking about, where should the cities be, and I can always pretty it up, right? But the most important part is just main things. All right, where do we have the capital? Do we have any kind of natural wonders or big forests or rivers that should be somewhere? And I've tried to make us a pretty easy canvas to start with. So our goal is to basically see how far we go. So do you want to start down here from this bay, or do you want to start up from the north here, where we have a lot of unfilled in blanks as well?
Go north. Let's make it a cold setting.
A cold setting. All right. So here we have like normally when you're talking about like political enclaves, polities, or countries, uh, usually they will be defined by natural borders, right? So normally you would have a country within the kind of mountain range that naturally defends it from invasion. Uh, Rivers, coasts, these kind of things. So it's quite rare that you find in our world at least, it's quite rare that you find a country that is not bordered um, by some kind of natural phenomenon. And I think that is a good way to kind of start out with this. So what kind of area do you think would be one place, right? That would maybe be up here north of these eastern parts of the Grarian Mountain.
Uh, what are some examples of other things you've put in other places? Like, is this like I seeing like Erdris Hold or whatnot? Is that kind of like the specific areas you're talking about, or natural phenomenons? I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, natural phenomenon. Let's look at the Norn-Haller Confederation, for instance, right? The
Sure.
Norn-Haller Confederation has a southern border that is defined by this river and then these mountains over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then to the north, it has a big mountain range as well. And then to the west, we see a more arbitrary border. There's not a river going through here. This is just a line that was put. That this is a border with the northern kingdoms to the west, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
you see, but if you see down here at the Kragar Holds, their like overland borders are defined by two rivers, kind of cutting out their country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as you would also see this kind of things happening in the real world, especially in the medieval ages. Right now, you have your land border with the U.S. A lot of the border is just the Great Lakes, right? But the rest of
Right.
it is put either at an arbitrary point or by some natural kind of border, right? So
Right.
but that is the whatever is parallel. So that's just some examples. If we have a look at the polities down here, what we see is we have an island group that would usually be a country, and then this kind of area here is defined by a river that divides two kind of powers here, and the same can be said up here with kind of these cliffs, for instance. Uh, uh, Bordering or making out the border between the remnants of Kalin and Yavaz Arnan, right?
Okay.
So I usually like to start in an area where I see, all right, for instance, up here we can see there are two kind of mountain valleys up here, or big areas of in the north that
Right.
is that could make a good country, right?
Right.
So what kind of country do we want to make up here? Do you think
Um. Well, it's got to be frozen land. How about we make it a monstrous country?
a monstrous country?
Something, something that maybe because it borders the water as well, right?
It does. So we
So
have
maybe make it some sort of monstrous humanoid race that's capable of using water to their advantage.
Okay, so monster humanoid race who lives in the north and can use water to their advantage. So what are we
Yeah, I mean,
thinking
not to
about
sound
here?
cheesy, but like orcs would be a an ideal kind of candidate, but maybe go with
Actually, I
something
don't really
different
have
as far.
an orc nation yet. Actually, so I think
Ah,
if we say that from I don't know, can you see
do
my
we have,
cursor?
do we have like a goblinoid nation?
I don't think we have either. We have some goblins and orcs in the Norn-Hella Confederation, and I had an idea about the unity of Zog over here being kind of a greenskin nation as well, but it doesn't need to be. But I like the idea of the northern kind of greenskin nations up here. Um,
Is there some other kind of race that we can put in? I'm wondering, right?
there's hobgoblins and bugbears. There's and
Well,
what
that's just
owlbears are
goblinoid,
kind
right?
of. Pardon?
That's just like if we go like goblins, bugbears, that's just goblinoids, right?
That is correct.
Let's see. I could go crazy and do like an undead race that lives over there.
Yeah, or like I like also just
I think that looking at this world map, there's some places in the south where I think the undead mess might be a little bit better, right?
yeah. All right, so
Not so close to civilization, quote unquote.
quote unquote.
Let's see. I'm just going through some of the monstrous races in D&D here.
The
Might be
Goliaths,
good
maybe.
for. I was thinking Goliath, yeah, or some sort of giants or giant kin, like maybe
We have
do
a
some
giant
ogres and some
country over
gnomes or
here
something, or
in Jotunheim here, which is
okay,
where this is the area where the first pre-session of our campaign with the where you played the that was the half orc guy, right? That you played. What
yeah,
was his name again? I don't remember. But that is
I
this
don't
this
remember the name.
crater up here actually is precisely that. So we have some giants up here, but that doesn't mean it can't be over here, right? It could just be another political kind of organization. So we could say, okay, um, they are sailors, right? So they will probably have there will be some deep fjords like kind of cutting into this country, right? So I'm going to that I did not. Uh, I have to use this mask tool here where I take away some of the foreground. So the foreground is what you would usually say is the like the land mass, and the background is then the water, as you can see here, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of starting with big chunks here. This is 6 pixels on a like in diameter, and then kind of cutting where I feel it makes sense with like the kind of big tools here, and then I will go into more details with a much smaller uh, kind of marker like this. As you see,
Okay,
it
so we
goes.
want like an Arctic cold dwelling kind of
Yeah, but like we don't need,
oceanic race.
but we don't need to be limited by any kind of archetypes, right? This could be a naval empire of goblins for all we care.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a naval empire of what dwarves. Like that's fine. We don't need to be all Tolkien-esque in how we kind of interpret the races, unless we want to be that, right? So, oh, I like this kind of fjord going all the way down into this kind of thing here. Just creates some very interesting geography, right? And it also
Yeah.
tells us a lot about the people that is going to be living in there, right? Because if we have this kind of land that is dominated by mountains and then fjords that go far inland, right? But with salt water, then what does that tell us about a culture, right? That's very interesting. I think just like the whole social geography and these kind of things and these kind of ways we have to think about. So already now you see here on the top, the geography is much more defined by this kind of these fjords going far inland, right?
Right.
And we'll give them a few rivers. There's one there, and why not here as well? And of course up here. And I'm going to just move some of the trees here out of the way to just have it. And right now, because we are editing in a lower resolution than the map, keep in mind that all of these fjords are going to look a bit more not as round and bulky as they are right now, right? So they will be much more sleek, kind of. All right. So did you figure out anything with the races that you were thinking about?
I'm thinking if we want to stick with monstrous, like maybe like Shahagan or Triton or something like that. Maybe even
Northern Tridents is kind
North.
of dope, right?
Yeah, Tritons would be kind of cool. Have them like Arctic Tritons or something like that. That like train polar bears and orcas.
All right, I'm buying it. Perfect. Let's go with that. So because it's a big naval thing, I'm just taking a little lake down here because I like that.
Well, I don't know if Tritons would necessarily be naval. They wouldn't make ships. They're more of a they live in the water, not on it.
All right, that makes sense. So where do we put the main city, right? We want something that doesn't freeze over at winter if they are living under the sea, right? So I think
Yeah,
maybe in this lake down here I just
yeah.
made.
We've got a big lake right there. Perfect, and
All
it's
right,
salt water. It's
saltwater lake. All right, cool. So
yeah. So
I'm
salt water would meet the fresh water from the mountains and maybe cause some sort of strange layer or something like that.
yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, so now I'm finding my stamps here. These are all like the parchment stamps because we're making a parchment map. You can go in if you want to make a more photorealistic ones. There's lots of other stamps, and you can even upload your own as well. But right now we're just looking for something simple, right? So I think that we could either use the monument ones here or the orc ones here. I think the orc ones might be a bit too like
Yeah, we want something that looks like it's
spiky.
almost underwater, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
something.
even use that tower over the 8 out of 9
The 8 out
or
of.
the 9 out of 9. That looks kind of underwatery.
Yeah, this is a bit like the Disney castle, but in like.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you think like underwater castle. I mean, you think that it's no problem to build up, right?
Sure. And then we want to give that a big old label, right? I'm just going to copy the one I have here because in that way I know it's the same kind of everything, right? So we're putting in here. Uh, there's a lot of room for it. And anyway, what are we going to call this? What kind of naming convention? Because that also tells us a lot about the culture that we're looking at, right? So do they call their things after nature, or is it more like
After ocean terminology, I would
yeah?
assume.
So what are we calling these here? This throne here. This is where the queen under the sea sits, right? Great
Sure,
mother. So what
great
what
mother.
what does her den? What is that called?
I'm just trying to think of any. What's
Like
um,
I sometimes use what is it called? I'm just going on to here. The fantasy name generators.com. It's a great resource for these kind of things. It has a place name kind of thing where you can go to city and town names, and it has a lot of kind of languages, so you can go for uh, Arabian Peninsula towns, Aboriginal towns, Russian towns, but it also has a category with underwater city names. So I'm just going to put that up. So just reading from the list, it has Syrah, Trinis, Cletus, Corarai, Corarai, Gaini, Triterus, Eucadis, Nortirin, Sapethon, or Nurius. I like Coronai. I think I'm just let us figure out Coronai. Is that a good name for this? What you saying?
sure. I'm just looking into more of the because I'm thinking like sunken city, Atlantis kind of thing. So I'm thinking like antediluvian or something. But
Yeah, we can do that as well. We could also go with something that has like a literal meaning, right?
but Atlantis is also based on the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
What's the ocean called outside here? Maybe we
I
can
don't know.
connect them.
I don't know. We could call that the Coronai Sea, right? But it is like a like. So do we want to give it a name, or do we want to give it like more of a nickname, right?
You can
So
call that the Corn Sea, and this can be Coronia or something like that. Oh, what a horrible name for 2020. Oh. Uh,
so the frozen sea of Coronai, right?
sure.
And I'm going to. This has to be a much smaller than this. There you go. So this up here is the frozen sea of Coronai. I'm going to put in some spacing here, and then you can see that it is all of the waters up here. So the frozen seas of Coronai. That is what we're calling this, like the white sea of this world here.
Sure.
And then what do we call this one? Do you say it is? You had something going on that was pretty interesting.
Oh, it'll all be based off the actual. So hang on.
Coronai. We're calling it Coronai. Let's see, and then here we have Coronel.
Yeah, could do that.
We could also just go a bit more and then call it Deep Coronel, right?
Well, I was thinking Sunken City of something or something like that, right? Or Triton City or
Yeah, all right. So,
Water Throne of whatever, right?
so all right. Yeah, we can definitely do that. What have I done in the other places here? Let's have a look. Usually I've just put in names. I've Port Leviathan, Cansmedifun, Rathajar, The Garden, Rosecourt, Vine Peak, Bassin Mount, Grongvar, Kalinor, and Anun Ren, right? And some of the others here. The Great Furnace. Yeah, we can definitely do that. So we wanted to call this the Great, what? The
Sunken City.
Sunken City or the Sunken Throne?
Throne seems a little too regal.
Yeah,
If we want them to be more monstrous, they wouldn't have a throne, would they?
no.
Maybe call it the Sunken Lair instead.
Maybe lair is also something that. Well, it really depends if it's like is this just like a really old aboleth that is actually the Great Mother,
No.
or that might be all right. So we will call it the what?
Yeah, I don't think Tritons or Merfolk in this case would be very good subjects because you'd see them as generally good type people. Maybe if it was like Kuto or Lokatha, then it'd be different for a an Aboleth. But
Yeah, if we want to
Aboleths are a tricky thing because they remember all of time and they've been there for all of time. So I mean that would be a major source of power kind of thing, right? I mean, there could be Aboleths there, but that has
could
a lot
be.
to do with like, Aboleths are basically a sink of world lore,
Yeah,
right? They're more knowledge bases than Sphinx. They're like the and like they have more knowledge than the astral plane does, which basically holds the secrets to everything, right? So I think it's kind of yeah. I don't know about Aboleth. They would be kind of isolate and remote, if anything.
maybe. Yeah.
If let's say it was a retired Aboleth or whatever. But so I don't think they'd be running a humanoid city.
No, but that's also a beautiful thing is that we can also just decide what happens, right?
Of course, of course. You know me, I like to stay
Yeah.
within lore specific,
Yeah,
right?
and
So
I do lots of
that
crazy
way,
shit. Yeah,
yeah, it's easier to follow when you go lore specific,
it
right?
is.
So like, here's the race. This is generally what they're about. Here's the kind of monster. This is generally what they're about, right? So if we stick with Tritons or Merfolk or whatever the case is, we know that they're territorial, right? So
All
they
right.
they don't want anyone coming to their sunken city, and that's why they moved to inland because maybe there's raiders coming from the actual waters. Maybe the Sahagin are actually there, charming their sharks or whatever to try to get the Tritons, and maybe there's a great war, and that's why they had to move down to Cornell, right?
All right. So we're actually going to say that this is a kingdom that is actually smaller than it used to be. So maybe they
Uh,
they they only have a limited amount of territory up here, right? Because they've been losing a war against something else, or what?
Yeah, so let's say the sea, the Coronai Sea
Yeah.
is full of like a bunch of bad monsters, right? It's full of like the Shahagan or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And then so they retreated inland, and that's where they kind of hold up. But they are defenders of the coast. They kind of protect the lands or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's kind of a druid kind of way. So where would you put the border? Like,
I'd say more territorial barbarian kind of stuff
yeah, all right.
than druidic. But I mean, they would probably have druids in there as well, being like
So
nature kind of thing,
where
right? But
would you say the border went? So is it kind of this fjord they have left, the one that has coronal in it, or
keep the borders as the mountains. The nice thing about Tritons, they can walk around on land. They're just as useful. I mean, they're more powerful underwater, but they're
so do
just as
we want to
useful as
put
anything.
the border like there or further up?
Oh no, I'm saying using the mountain range as the border, and then the ocean will be the where the monsters come from. So they defend the actual ocean themselves. Maybe even
Okay,
say
yeah.
like, yeah.
So we
So
will
the border
just
would be there, and then put it, yeah, like up in that area kind of thing.
yeah, like here, right?
Sure.
So they
And
have
then we
this
could go
area.
yeah, to the north, to the northwest of this. Maybe that could be where the actual monsters are from, right? Because
Like,
they're directly from the ice. It's hard to guard or whatnot. And
precisely.
they board. So what's the to the northeast? What's the border there? What is that border onto? Is that the
Uh,
giant
we
time?
we don't know. That is we can figure that out if you want to later.
Oh, to the west. Sorry.
The
Yeah,
west.
to
Yeah,
the
this
west.
over here, that's the giant realms over here.
Okay, so if we made the border of, I don't know, because maybe there's just wildlands there or something.
It can be, but I also like the idea of it doesn't need to be a civilization they have been pushed back by, right?
Hmm.
It can also be just ferocious amount of like sea creatures that have just started overwhelming them, right? They could also be an ancient aboleth doing like zombie things with a lot of fish and tridents and kind of being an underwater lich kind of thing. I'm just spitballing here. It could be anything.
Hmm.
But that is awfully a lot because right now we're just trying to make a map, right? So now
Right.
what we want
Yeah.
to do is we want to figure out, all right, let's just find some small town things, all right? So that'll be these. So where in this land would they have larger kind of centers of civilization? We talk about, all right, we have the capital. Now we want to place down like Toronto and Vancouver kind of thing, right? If we're talking in Canadian terms.
Yeah. Well, you'd want it right next to the actual same fjords, right?
Yeah, and there's also a difference, I guess, because these could both have underwater cities and over like on land, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But
But
there should be some that are kind of peeking off to the top to the coast
there'll
because
probably
that would
be
be
one
more.
here where this city here is like the fortress city. It is
Sure.
actually like it is in a very literal sense a gate to the rest of the kind of fjord down here, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so that is one of them, right? And then we have another one that could be up here doing the same thing, maybe. I don't know. It could also be somewhere else, right? It could be up here if you wanted it.
Well, they don't all have to be in the water,
No,
right?
it doesn't need to. Like, it could also be off to the side or something, right? But it doesn't like too much. Too far
Well,
north
yeah,
might be too
exactly.
much.
From a race that's been pushed back, I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to have
All the
a ton of towns,
population,
right?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
Like
down here.
the wilds here are frigid, cold, freezing, and dangerous. So I mean, and they feed off of the actual
Yeah.
waters themselves, so they'd be closer to the ocean than to the mountains. I think Cornell is there because it's there to protect itself with the mountain ranges or whatnot.
And it's
But
also
I
a
think most
big
of the
lake, right? This is miles, like miles wide lake, right?
right.
So where do you think this would be? Here is that a good place? I think that's a pretty interesting place for a town, right? Or
Sure.
city, I would say. All right. So where would you have the rest of these civilizations here? Because then what I have is, as you can see here, for instance, in the Chthonian Imperium, I have Cato, which is like the main city, and then I have a few like large size ones, and then I have medium cities, which are this icon here, with the dot inside of it, and then we have the small towns, right? So I'm just going to copy some of those over here, and we can put down some of these. And we don't need to name these. This can just be whatever. But we might want to name the large ones, right? These two here.
Yeah. Well, if we're gonna have smaller ones, maybe they should be where, like, maybe yes, we have a city where they you know basically gates there, but have other cities to the northern peninsula, because they need to be in the middle of the, like, closer to the actual ocean so they can actually do trade, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's how they trade.
So we'll have a big one
So
here on the border, and then one here. That was what you meant, right? This one here.
no, no, to the north on land.
You want it up here,
The,
kind of?
well, yeah, because that's just natural for, like,
Yeah.
it would be on the actual water, so they can actually trade. They would have their ships or their fleets there, or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
if they needed to trade. Because I'm assuming, like, this would be a massive, massive, like, Triton population to have this much actual city there. So maybe
Yeah.
they're the ones that kind of govern the actual area, but they actually have, maybe humans or humanoids that are kind of,
Yeah.
they're traders that are protected by the actual by the Tritons.
All right. So they will also have like kind of human and
Maybe
maybe green
sea elves
skins.
and, yeah, sea elves, merfolk, stuff like that, right?
So I'm going to put in here because we have some like large centers of population tend to arrive or like form where you have kind of natural kind of phenomena that makes it practical to settle there, right? So,
Mhm.
I did a boot looper there. Right. So I just made a few. I don't like the look of that. I don't like that. I think we will just keep like this, and then I'm going to take off some of this here. Maybe make an island. Oh, that was not good. Let's maybe just make a couple of islands here. Uh, there we go. All right. So now it looks a little less silly, right? So we have a big city up here, and we have one here on the border, also in a fjord, right? One of these bays makes a natural harbor. The storms won't, ruin all your things inside, right? So instead of the open sea kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Does it have any more large, like above ground centers of population? Maybe down here somewhere.
No, I think that's plenty.
All right. So where do we want to put the small towns? Like maybe where would make sense, right? There would probably be one here and one here. These would be a couple of miles apart, right? With the fjord.
Well, what about the eastern border,
Do you mean the western border?
western border?
There you go. Yeah, makes sense. And probably there'll probably be a larger city close to the capital because capitals love to attract more things, right? So I'm going to put one here, yeah, and then one there, and I'm going to put one down here and one. Yeah, and I think that's fine. So I'm going to draw some of the roads between these. So we are going to have a trade road that looks like this here, right? That would make sense, right?
Yeah.
And then this up here probably go, and I see that these aren't layered that well, so we're going to put it down below here. All right, and then this road would probably go something like this. And then we would have one that went like here and here. And I guess like this. And then of course down to Coronel, the sunken city itself. what I'm doing here is like kind of I'm kind of I'm pressing the roots I already have, and that way it copies the settings of the kind of things I'm doing. And then I'll take the anchor icons here, and the large anchors go for the large cities and the large ports here. And one more here, and the small anchors goes there, and one up here. And I guess we will have one. If this is kind of a trade route, this would go all the way down here as well, probably, where there would also be a an actual harbor. There we go. So already this looks a lot more populated, right? But now we see,
Oh yeah,
yeah, do we want to have forests here or hills or some kind of
yeah. I think. Well, maybe yeah, maybe some foothills, small forests.
putting down some hills here, just as a supplement to our mountains here. And then we want some forests, you say. So we want to have trees here. I'm going to make I think I want this on 60. And then we want just some small forests, right? So I think this here is a forested area.
Sure.
Uh, that would make sense to me, right? And the same with these. These are very kind of big. They need the wood for things, right? And the rest is kind of bleak. There's nothing like this is not the most attractive land. Do we want forests up here as well, or just like sheer cliffs and plains, really?
Maybe like in between the trade route there might be a little neat. So they made the trade or the roads around the forest.
Like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put up like some here as well. But what about down here? What do we want? This is a big empty kind of area, right?
Yeah. It could just stay empty.
We can just stay
It's
empty.
ice. It's plains. Yeah. It's flat plains of desert, right?
All right, we can do that.
If you could put like a snow tundra or something like that on there, I don't know if you have that kind of detail.
Yeah, we can do that. Not a problem. Oh, I'm just going to take this here. I'm going to make this a bit smaller as well. There we go. Just to create some interesting bridges here as well. Because bridges are a thing as well. So we have two bridges over this, but none over this, apart from this place here. We want to make it a snow tundra. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the white texture here, and I'm going to let's see, snow. We want to take the size down a notch, and we would just want to give it a a gentle layer of snow here. I want to give that as well up here, right? I'm going to, at some point, because this snow here is much nicer than the one I have used over here on the left. So at another time, I'm going to go ahead and do that. But this is just an icy waste, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a desert. Yeah.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the one called, what is it called? It is the cracked ground, I think it's called. Yeah, the
Cracked ice.
cracked ground. There's one with called cracked ground. That's fine. But this here does something as well, and I'm just going to show you. I don't know if we can see that even. Yeah, it kind of does the same thing, right? You see there?
Yep.
But with black lines instead of white ones.
Right.
So this is now a big ass kind of like Arctic kind of desert, really, right?
Yeah.
All right, and now we have to put on the labels. So we have two large cities that we want to give names, right? So here we have the Coral Keep, maybe. Is that a name I have
Hmm.
stolen from somewhere?
I don't think so.
Do we want to call it the Coral
Coral Keep.
Keep or the Coral Gates?
I like gates.
All right. All right. The Coral Gates are up here, and what are we calling this town down here? Like right now, this is all pixely, but this will be much better when we export it in high definition, right?
Yeah.
So what are we calling this place down here? This town.
Salty cliffs.
I like it. Salty Cliff. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and steal just because it is easier for me to just copy the ones I need. So we're going to this desert kind of tundra place, right? What are we going to call that? We want to give that a kind of a name, right? So this is the like the frozen wastes is easy, but it's also kind of cheap, right?
Let's see. Tundra. The Trident Tundra.
No, the Trident Tundra. Okay, got it. So that is here. And then we want to give the final thing here. We want to give the country a big old name. And I'm going to steal again one of these here from the Sovereignty of Rosaria. So much world law coming into play. And this here will kind of be a label that we like superimpose over the rest here. So we don't want it to be we don't want it to go over other kind of labels. But if you see here, then it doesn't go over something else. So now we want to write something called the Kingdom of whatever, or the Sovereignty of Rosaria, right? So is this just the Kingdom of Coronel? That could make sense, but we don't need to call it that, right?
I like having some kind of queen or empress on there.
Yeah.
So, Ice Empress,
Domain
Ice
of
Queen.
domain of the Ice Queen, domain of
Sure.
Elsa.
Do you want to build a map?
I guess so.
Come on, let's
Uh,
build a map.
domain of the what?
Ice Empress, made of Imperial ice.
I like the domain of the Ice Empress, right? It,
Okay.
it's not it's not a country as much as it's just her land, right? But that
Mm-hmm.
also tells us a lot about this, right? This is very centralized, kind of dictatorial kind of government, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's because of necessity, right? Because as we talked about before, they might have been all over the place, but now they're not. So actually, let's go to the west here. And I think what we want to do is we want to put down a few ruins. I want to put down a few ruins because we know that these people here used to be like a big, large kind of place, right? So we have a ruin here, I would say. And then where over here would the Ice Empress and the Tridents have had cities back in the day? Here maybe?
Anywhere coastal.
Yeah, so we're going to put it here between
They
the
would,
two
yeah,
fjords.
they could use them as bridges, such as the Coral
Yeah,
Gates.
yeah. And then maybe here on the like, say there's an old canal here, right? So I'm just going to do like this. And this is like the canal. Oh, that's not good. You see here there is kind of an old canal going on, and this city was there on that canal. Okay, perfect. And one here. So that is they are all in the same latitude Wow. We're going to put those down here just so to break the symmetry a little bit. And then I want
Well,
to
why don't you move the one that's more western up onto the landmass to the north?
here.
No.
No, you mean this one?
Uh,
The one to the east.
yeah.
I like that. I like this. So these are all ruins of whatever has happened to the domain of the Ice Empress.
Cool.
Um, so who lives here now at this place? Do we? Is it a is it a country or is it just big old nature?
Let's say if the Jotun have kind of chased creatures out, that they've kind of taken over the land space, and then in the water would be some sort of sea devils, or Shahagan, or something like
All
that, right?
right, all right. Let's say that. Let's say that. So that means what we want to do is just put in. Basically, we don't need to put in much here. We can just put in some more. Oh, that's not good. That's they were rotated for some reason. Uh, let's see here. Just put in some more forest here because they have this area has been overgrown since it has been abandoned by civilization, right? So now
Okay.
it's just big old pine evergreens everywhere. All right, and then we want to give these ruins some names. So these are the ruins of something, right? So we have Salty Cliff, the Coral Gates, and Coronel here. So here this is kind of on
Called
a
Old Coronel. Maybe that was her capital. That's where they had to retreat.
this was Old Coronel. Okay.
Yeah.
When we call it Old Coronel, I don't think we need to write in ruins,
No.
but this is ruins of what? Canal
Well, you said
Canal Keep
you said that was a
of a canal city between these
yeah.
fjords, right? So we call it Canal Keep. It's not very imaginative, but it works. And the last one over here, we want a straight up name, right?
Sure. Uh, Myth Draenor.
Isn't that
That is, yeah.
uh
You don't want
all right? Let's go back to the list of. Let's see here. Let's go back to the list of underwater city names.
to. Oh,
Triturus,
Tritress sounds pretty good.
Triturus,
Yep.
Triturus. All right, and then this area here. What do we want to call that?
Um, so that would not be the domain of the Ice Empress. That'd be an old domain of the Ice Empress. So, but everything is left in ruins. Everything's destroyed.
Hmm. We call it
Call it like the
the
waste of the North Sea or something.
the ruins of Crania, maybe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
So like old Valyria or whatever you could call it. All right. So
yeah.
with that, we have two areas covered, um, and a pretty nice map to match. I think, right? This
Yeah,
is pretty
absolutely.
dope, right? And it takes quite a while for this to save, but we also added 380 kind of stamps to this map, right?
Yeah.
All right, now it's going. All right, perfect. I was just about to get a bit scared there. All right, I think if we should take like a 5 minute break because
Sure.
I need to visit the bathroom and then we'll be back and we'll go to another area. I think we'll jump somewhere down south.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, I will see you in a minute, Tanner.
Sounds good, buddy.
And there. All right, and welcome back, everybody, to the world building stream here. We have just finished our two areas up here in the north here with the Dominion of the Ice Empress and the ruins of Crania, and now we are going on to somewhere else. So, do you want to continue from the area we ended, or do you want to go down um, somewhere else down here, maybe?
Panning around, let's see what we can find.
So we have a lot of riverlands here. Also a big ass lake up here in this area here. We have all of this area here. And then we have whatever is next to the Great Wall to Old Skyrath, the Birdland. Then we have some
Yeah, let's do that.
borderlands. All right, sure.
Let's see what borders there. Why not?
All right.
So why is there a Great Wall there?
So Old Skyrath, as I'm not even sure if it has been mentioned in the Storms of Serena, but Old Skyrath was a majocracy of old, and they had all of these floating cities with beautiful sunsets everywhere, and it was a perfect place. And then the magic went too crazy, and they had a catastrophe, and everything was basically nuked. And from and the sky catched fire, and it rained down red crystals, and now it's just dead. Created a lot of kind of magical corruption across the world. So now all of Skywrath here is just a big old radioactive landscape filled with monsters and not good things, right? This is just
So,
Mordor,
so why was the
basically.
wall built?
Yeah, so why was the wall built? So that's a good question. Why was the wall built? It was built because monsters and all the other kind of corruption kept coming from the west, and they needed to stop it, right?
All right, so we need some sort of noble creatures that would want to actually stop that.
Yeah. So
So,
who
what's a noble creature that wants to stop evil naturally, besides dwarves? So, what's dwarf like, but keep it more nature based? Do centaurs?
could do centaurs, but would they have a wall?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they could make a wall. I'm just thinking about horses and
What do you think? Horse people can't make walls?
the stairs. I guess you can. Hmm. I'm,
Have
I'm,
them instead of centaurs, have them goats.
I'm not feeling centaurs like for
Okay.
a big like building kind of thing. I'm just not feeling that right. I would
Okay.
love centaurs maybe up north somewhere in the big steppes, right? I
All
don't
right.
know. Is Mongol centaurs like overdone or
Uh, no, it's well, you can't really overdo something in D&D.
no?
Tropes are tropes are pretty.
Tropes are
I
fun,
mean, you want tropes in your fantasy RPGs, 100%. You
precisely.
want things that are familiar.
So do we want to make fantasy China here? Oh,
No,
no, we
no,
don't
I
want to make
don't.
fantasy China. All right. So what do we want to make
No.
instead? We want to make. We don't want to make the wall from Game of Thrones either, right?
Yeah, we don't want to say it's a great wall and then make it around China. That's just too on the nose, right?
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, I like tropes, but that's pushing it. Um,
This might be a very kind of
who created the wall? It was the people on this side of it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
People on the east side of, or
yeah,
sorry, west side of it, east side of it. Sorry. Ugh.
the eastern side of the wall. Yes,
Yeah. Join our play all at West Marches because I can't get east and west proper for some reason.
yes, from
Um,
the west of them. I would
yeah.
say maybe. I'm just thinking about here.
A
Um,
society that's able to build a wall that would live in
I think
that kind of
I'm
area.
feeling Goliaths.
Goliath build a wall? I
Goliath
mean, yeah,
building
if
a
you want
wall.
Goliath to be,
I want a big ass
e-
Goliath kind of
engineers,
civilization. Yeah,
then
a big ass Goliath engineer civilization here.
okay. So like giant gnomes.
Yeah, I guess more or less. We'll have to make a sub. Oh, that was not good. We would have to make a subclass or sub
Well, there's
race.
nothing saying that you can't have a bunch of like Goliath engineers that are
Uh,
just like
yeah,
oh, this is what we do, right?
yeah, we'll build it in a day. All right.
Yeah.
So they have the great city of
Gigantia.
Gigantorum. Let's not go with Asian stereotypes in this kind of land. I don't want that. I want just things here. Because when we are on the East Coast and this world looks eerily like ours, even though it's not, right?
Yeah.
Um, like so, uh, yeah. But I don't want any Asian stereotypes over here. I think that's on the nose and also unnecessary. Um,
Call it Gigan.
Gigan, Gigan. What is interesting with these giants here? They are engineers, of course.
Well, they should make more than just the Great Wall then. Maybe they have a big monolith somewhere or something.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. All right, I'm changing these with taking the dwarf icons instead, because the dwarf icons are also very impressive in the way they engineer, right? So big, big, big ones here. What kind of culture are we dealing with? It's engineer culture. It's their builders, so they are very centralized kind of people, right? This is
Yeah, they have one big ass city that basically everyone goes to, and then they have like all their cities are basically built around building
supplying.
marvels, like the
Yeah.
Eiffel Tower or
All right.
terracotta, right?
All right. All right. I can dig that. I can definitely dig that. All right.
Have
So
like a Civilization 5 kind of wonders all over the place,
yeah. Oh, Civilization
or Civ
6.
6. Yeah,
All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and we're going to define the borders of the giant people. So they live down to here. Oh, I think that's the wrong one. I'm going to go and take this one, a bit lighter in the tone. So their southern border is this river here. But the
sure.
northern border, is this a big ass super country like all the way up here? Or
Oh no, no, no.
so it's more like maybe here? Is
Well, why not just
this
make it the top of the river? Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
and then all of the lands to the east is not the same, right? It's another country.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're a force to be reckoned with, but they need to build a wall to get rid of all these magical
Yeah.
crystals, maybe they should be a bit bigger. But
Yeah, we can do that. All right. So I think what are we going to do is
if not, they would have to work very well with the people around them to actually protect them and send them allies or whatever to man the wall or whatever. But if you make it big enough, then they can
I
guard the
can
wall themselves.
definitely. Oh, 1 second. I'm just going to find some other music for us. Let's see here. All right. And OBS, everything is fine. I have to find some actual real music for this, I think. What do we want to hear? Putting in the fence music.
Pretty loud.
Yeah. And I'm going to just turn that down a scooch. All right, I think that's fine, right? I'm just going to check the. Let's see here. Let's see here. Perfect. I think that's fine. And back to map building. All right, so we might say, all right, there might be an actual kind of border, natural border over here, and I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and do some mountains, right? We can do mountains. Mountains are fun. So we'll put down like a mountain range going here, right? How do you think this looks?
Well, wouldn't lakes generally come from the mountains,
Lakes or
or
rivers?
sorry, rivers come from
Rivers,
the mountains.
rivers do. So we can also do a river here, right? Um, but yeah, usually it will come from the mountains, right? I think doing something like this would probably be okay, right? So we're giving them this land here, and then maybe, yeah, we want to give them all of this here, right? So is all of this is Gigantia, or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
All right. So all of this is a big ass country, right? This is the size of the Chthonian Imperium, basically.
Cool.
All right. So where do we want them to have uh,
I
other
think there should be
towns?
some sort of obelisk, almost like a masterpiece that's just outside the Great Wall, and we can call it like the Goliath's totem or something like that, and it could be like their warband or whatever.
There's like the Eye of Sauron down here. Maybe not what we're going for. The pillar. There, this one. I like this one. Just a
Sure,
black ass pillar here.
sure,
Want to do that?
yeah.
And what do we want to call that?
Pillar of the Goliaths.
Sure. What do the Goliaths call themselves in the native tongue here?
Giggins.
Gigan. All right,
Yeah.
Gigan. So, oh, so this would not be called Goliath,
So
but Gigan,
Gigan
right?
is an alien cyborg kaiju.
Perfect.
Perfect. They make kaiju. They make big battle mechs. This could be like an advanced civilization of Goliaths that
And even
imagine
bigger
like Goliath.
mechs.
Yeah, Goliath battle mech. Wow, that'd be some scary shit.
No, that's just Gigan pillar. It would just be
Sure.
like the reason I'm not sure about this name is it would just be like calling something, Canada Tower.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
But I guess, yeah, I guess you can do that. Maybe they're not so maybe they're not so imaginative with naming, right?
No, they like strong. They're like dwarves in a sense, right? Dwarves don't like stone beard, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're not super creative in their language or their naming. They just name cool shit. Probably less in the ocean and more on the borders.
Yeah, I would also put them
There,
up
there's
here,
a
right?
yeah, there's a
And that
large space there.
we
Yeah,
want to put a big ass fortress up here, right? A big fortress right there. And these are just the big population centers, right?
yeah,
All right. And then we want the big and the small things. So they are a highly technological advanced kind of civilization here, right?
right.
With a large population, which is unusual for, I guess, no, that's stupid. Just the dot the I here. Where else do we want big population centers? They'll probably be here. All around the coast and the lake and the rivers, there would usually be a lot of people to like live a lot of people there, right? So let's go there. All good, Tanner?
Sorry about that.
No worries. It is how it is. All right. I want to put a big ass, another big ass fort down here, maybe. There we go.
It's a shit ton of Goliaths.
Yeah, that's a lot of them. All right. So what do we have where, right? So what is this down here? This kind of valley. What is that?
What's the mountain range called?
I don't know. What do you think it's called?
What's the other mountain range called to the west there?
This up here, this is the Grey Rim Mountains.
Call them South Grey Rim Peaks or something.
But this is a completely different mountain chain, right?
Great Wall Mountains.
Great Wall, the Gigantor Mountains.
Sure. Well, so the Great Wall patches the Grey Rim Mountains to this other mountain range, right?
Yeah, yeah, basically, right. So this mountain range here stops
Yeah.
there, and then a new one starts here, right?
Yeah, and basically the Goliaths created a mountain range called the Great Wall.
Yeah, or a humanoid-made wall, right? So
Yeah.
this down here, let's call it. I'm just grabbing here from the Trident Tundra. I'm grabbing this. I want to be minus 20, and I want to make it a bit bigger. And this will be our. This will name the mountain range. So this will be like this is like I have used some very like kind of spiky
Yeah, that's why I
here.
said peak.
Yeah,
Like Grey Rim Peaks or Great Wall Peaks, the Giant Peaks, Giant Folk Peaks, Goliath
Gigantor
Peaks.
Peaks. I love it. Gigantor. All right. And of course, we want to name the big towns. All right. So first of all, we have the forts to the south and the one to the. Let's go this. And then to the north, we want to put these labels here. Right. What else? What do we have inside here? So this is like a hilly area. You will have a lot of mines. Like they will mine this area for all of their materials, right? So they will actually have a big ass town here that is just mine central, right? This is where all of the iron, all of the shit, it comes from here, right?
Sure.
So apart from that, we will have some trees. I think it's getting a bit loud this, so I'm turning down groovy a little bit. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's have a look here. So let's give it a 60% here. And I'm just putting down some mountains. Oh, not some mountains, some trees here in this area. Because, of course, you want some trees up next to your mountain range.
Well, if they're being mined, wouldn't the trees be pushed back quite a bit?
Yeah, I think actually that's pretty decent.
You know, fuck ton of fire for a mine, right?
Yeah.
Especially for an iron mine.
So actually, we would have the iron road goes from the south here, uh, and the northwest. All of these goes
That's
here.
just mining camps. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, these are kind of mining camps, kind of. Oh, I think we'll put in the forests in the end, right? Let's put in
sure.
some roads. Do we want to do that? We want to put in some roads, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that. All right. So the iron road goes here, right?
Want to go? Yeah, we'll go more that way.
So there's so all of this tells me two things. One, there's a town here, right? Maybe it's even the big one here because that is where the roads meet. So it just makes sense to have a center of civilization there. And the same about here, right? Crossroads, always a place where people will put down an inn. Then a few people will decide, oh, this is a nice place to, you know, uh, have a farm. And then, all of a sudden you get a big ass town, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always like putting at least small towns at big junctions like that, right?
Right.
And here we have a road, and this goes down here, right? And then we will have the big iron route down here as well, right? So I will just move some of these here. That's beautiful. I really like these routes down here. I think that's really cool, right? And up here, let's see. Then there will be a road that goes all the way up there, right? We probably want some smaller kind of cities down here. I'll put one here. Shits and giggles. And I guess one here as well. What do you think? Is this good with the?
It's like 30 stops, but busy. But yeah, it works.
It's a big ass. Like this is a large kind of empire, right?
Oh
Where
yeah.
they build a lot that has like top-notch roads and large bridges everywhere, right? This is their pride and joy. So they have lots of Goliath babies that make lots of Goliath structures everywhere, right?
Cool.
All right.
So I'm thinking it should be pretty devoid of a lot of trees and stuff because if they're this big,
Lots of
they
farmland.
probably they probably they've probably forested well, pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everything has been chopped, and a lot of it has been like just used uh for burning, and a lot of like we could say that they have a big wood shortage, right? But a lot of these kind of what would you call them? Kind of Goliaths like this that are engineers would probably think ahead, right? So where would they have just a big square of forests that is just there,
Well,
kind
right
of
there in the south, it's like kind of a
here?
sacred forest that they don't touch.
Or
No, they already have it. It's below the It's right next to the Gigantora Peaks.
all right, down here, all right. But
So either it's sacred or haunted or something. But yeah, but their trade, their export would be their engineering, their import
would
would
be
be
raw materials at
forest.
this point, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because they've spoiled most of that. So maybe they export valuable minerals like iron and stuff like that. Though I mean, mostly export in this area would be to dwarves and stuff. So maybe they like go and help dwarves build stuff. So maybe along the actual the Gray Rim Peaks or whatever there, you could find several Goliaths doing some work.
That makes sense. All right, I'm just going to put in a some dirt here, just to give this some. As you see here, like actually makes it look a bit like less nice, right? A bit
Hmm.
more grass maybe instead. I'm trying to figure out what I like better, right? Yeah, I think I like the grassland, right? Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Just give it some masking here and just giving it a once over with a kind of um, what is it called? A brush like this really does a lot for showing off what kind of place it is, right? So they just live in big ass plains with all kinds of good stuff right there, right? Centered around Gigan, the big town of the. There we go. All right, that's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
Um, do we want to give them like I would say maybe a few forests here and there, right? Just to make the kind of the map a little less empty, right? What else do we want there? We can do some things. We can put in some
What
mountains, some
about
cliffs.
six there? Some dead trees to make it look like it's been deforested.
Maybe if you wanted a haunted forest somewhere, right? That would be more.
Oh no, just deforested, right? They've basically these are just
So we would put it like
they've
just
they've taken all the nutrients out of the ground, and then now the trees are all sparse.
yeah. So just put in a few here and there. Just industrialized climate change, basically, right? Because everything, all resources are just being sucked out of the ground here.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, all right. I think, and again, just by placing these things down and kind of talking about what kind of people these are, I think a lot of it, like a lot of world building is basically going on, right?
Yeah, you build the world, and then the stories come as you're building it, right?
Precisely. All right, so we
I
want
mean, who
to,
are these people? Why do they have this there? All that kind of stuff,
yeah,
right? So,
precisely. It is beautiful. All right, so here will be South Keep, right? Or Keep. I think we already used Keep. Do we want to? All right, we call it Bastion, comma South.
South
Oh,
Gagan Bastion.
oh, I think it might just have disappeared because I was a bit too quick. Nope. All right. All right. I will go grab it from here. So this is Northern Geigen Bastion, right?
Sure.
And then the one down below will be the southern one, of course. Again, now it's all pixelated, but this will be fixed when we have exported it. Southern Geigen Bastion. All right. And then we already know that these people are very literal. They're not that artsy, right? So they don't have fancy names for things.
Yeah.
So what is this town here? This is the big mining central down here.
Call it Forge Home or Iron Home or
Ironhome. I
something
like
like that.
Ironhome. Ironhome it is. Ironhome. And then up here, this is the big crossroads. We call it in between because that is what it is. It is in between things.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, that's a pretty cool name, I think, right? And then over
Yeah.
here, what do we call that? That is a port
Uh,
city.
Island port because there's islands all over the place.
Yeah, island port, and then down here, that is another port, but there's no islands all over the place. So this is just
Ocean port.
ocean port. Yeah. The music is very suitable for these giant people. All right, I'm grabbing the anchors here, and the last thing we will do is drop down these. So we want to, and again, these people are big into infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
they love everything that has to do with bridges and roads and machines and kind of infrastructure in general. That is, they have like they maintain stupidly large kind of trading trading routes that goes everywhere, right? So we actually have a very kind of oh, now the music is something completely different. They actually have like they have a lot of interesting things going on in regards to just trading. They have a very centralized kind of position in the world because of that, right? I am going to skip that song. I'm sorry, Michael, but that is just not for me. All right, let's go back here then. All right, so what else do we have here? Now I think we have all the anchors down. Now only thing that is needed is the actual shipping lanes. And we will put it down here.
Up north as well.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And that will be in between here, going there. I think that's pretty good. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, it looks cool as well, right?
Yeah. I like the way that it's kind of sparse and it. I mean, you're looking at it and you're like, well, that looks like a almost like a barren patch, but it still has details. So you're like,
Yeah,
what the fuck happened there, right?
precisely. Uh, these over here, these are not the Giganto peaks. These are the just eastern mountains, I guess.
East Geigen, or yeah, East Peak.
East peaks.
Yeah.
Again, because these people living in this place are just not interested in fancy naming. Yeah,
No, no.
and then
Why would you name it that? That doesn't make sense.
precisely.
Yeah.
And I want to do one more thing, which is this. Might want to have minus 10 on this instead, so do it like this. I just want to write down here the Iron Road, right? Because that is what this is here.
All right.
It's just from Ironholm to Gigan, that is just where the iron comes, right? They will have a massive fleet and everything. This is very cool place, I think. All right, all right.
Let's save it and get a high res map, and then we'll go back over what we did.
Making a high-res map takes 20 minutes to export it for
Oh
Inkarnate.
no, that's horrible.
So I think I think a high-res map is something we can have a look at later on, or after a break or something.
Well, let's do it now. Let's start the high res, and then we'll come back and we'll go over and what we think about what's going to happen with these people, what they're about. I mean, we've covered a lot of it already, but
Sure. All right. I'm going to
8K map. Wow, no wonder it takes 20 minutes.
yeah, 8K. It is. It takes a long time, and sometimes this stops. So there is a chance that this will not work as intended. We will find out all of that. So I guess we are going. I'm just going to have a look here and see if this export actually starts. All right, part one is rendering. All right, let's have a look. We'll come back in 10 minutes, and then we'll see. We'll have a look at what we made. Right.
Sounds good.
All right, and so goes there, and see you all. And we return, everybody. The
We're
map
back.
has. Yay! For everybody watching, hello. I hope that you are having fun. And if you have any cool ideas about what we have to, what we should add in, go ahead and write. So that will be fantastic. We have made a high definition export of our map. So let's have a look at that. I'm going to put that over here. And you should all be able to see that now. Let's just have a look here. I'm
Really high
just
definition. It's fantastic.
it's an 8K map, right?
Yeah, I definitely see what it looks like when you're actually working on it compared to when you actually export
Oh
it.
yeah,
It
but
looks
now
pretty
I had to
fantastic.
push the button, so now everybody watching should be able to follow this. All right, let's see here. I'm going to zoom in. This is just Microsoft Windows Viewer, and as you can see from before, this is not pixelated anymore, right? You can actually it's pretty clear, right? And you're not
And yeah, even off the stream's only streaming at 1080, right? But this map quality is it looks even better off stream than it does
yeah,
on stream. So it's like
precisely.
super sharp.
And as you see, the fjords here look a little funky because it looks more like a bit more bulky when you kind of do it. So I can see I have to go through here and make this not look like something someone drew, right? But that's fine. I think this one turned out pretty decently. Uh, the canal can be made better. I'll make sure of that. All right, I think the domain of the Ice Empress like pretty simple, but I think we nailed it pretty well actually. I think
Good.
this I like this. Same over here, but down here I think I think the giant kind of country here that this is a bit more kind of it has a lot more character to it. I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're thinking. Ironhome, Oceanport. I like this. I think this is all very good. All right. If we're going back now to the, I'm going to make sure that you also can see the Inkarnate one instead. All right. I'm sharing here with you. All right. Going back to the Inkarnate screen here, we still need a few things before we're done with this place here. We need, of course, a label. What is this country called? This is a.
Empire of the Gigans, of course.
Is it the
Right?
is it the Empire of the Gigans or is it?
Well, look at all their towns. Yeah, it's a freaking empire. There's like what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, there's like 30. So yeah, this is an empire. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
it's
This is not a domain.
no. This is a Gigan Empire.
Yeah,
And again, it's not a good name, but it's that they don't care, right? they
yeah.
are they are the Gigans. I think we want to put that here. Yeah, just here. Gigan Empire. Boop. That's it. It's nothing special. Nah, no. This is fine.
Very cool.
Like we could go with something like Engine Pyre, just to be like on the nose about it. But
Go what? Empire?
like because they're engineers, so we could call it Engine Pyre, right? Like
No, no.
yeah, but
That
just
doesn't sound like them. Not what they call their stuff like Southern Gigan Bastion, Ocean Port, Island Port,
yeah,
Gigan Empire, right?
precisely.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. I like the Gigants here. I think they are very interesting. And again, a place where already when we're talking about this coming in as a player, could see a lot of interesting shit like going on there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I would say so. All right, do you want to do another place or what do you think? So, all right, do you
No,
want to do another
that's
place
about
or?
good. We're almost hitting 2 hours now, so
So I think we're good. Well, world building takes time because you need to to put in some things, right? I think,
Yeah, and then after you finish world building, you got to go back in and take a look and make sure the map looks good. So when you
yeah,
re-export it, so you got to go back and do some fine touch detailing. And then,
precisely,
I mean, the natural instinct after doing this is to create a history of what's going on with these people, right?
precisely.
And then that, knowing that history, what happened to those people, and why they have certain buildings where, leads you to actually connecting other empires to them and creating new empires next to them as well. So it's like, world building is a pretty amazing thing, and it's just, I mean, even Incarnates came up on this stream a couple times and said that we don't worry about making things too detailed. Just
Yeah,
do it. Just put something down, right? I mean, I know for the campaign that I run, I used Incarnate, and I just took a map of Toril of the Forgotten Realms world, and I just took a little piece of it, and then I kind of redrew it out with some of my own flavor to it inside Incarnate, and I was able to make a map that was covered in snow and a map that had less snow, so I can kind of relate to the seasons. So when the seasons change, that's when something else flicks over. It's really neat, and you could. I mean, I think Incarnate's pretty fantastic, and an annual um, membership for it's dirt cheap, and it includes your free open access to actually display it anywhere you want. So it's pretty amazing. But yeah, like what Roar's doing here is, I've never seen it so advanced before. I've never done it so advanced before, but it's pretty decent.
but actually, I didn't start doing this before. I think I made one map back. Oh, fuck, that was before university. I think back in 2012 or something. I sat down and made a big
Mhm.
ass map with campaign cartographer. But I think that campaign cartographer makes everything looks like a 90s RPG game, right? So the maps you'll have on the back of the disc to Heroes of Might and Magic 3 or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think this, and I'm getting a lot of
It's more like
inspiration.
parchment, right? It looks good.
I think this looks really good, and even here in the low def, I think like it is it is it is simplistic and it leads your eye to where things are happening, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's good. And I
Yeah,
mean, you could do different things too. You don't have to do the style map. You could do like a more colorful kind of map where, there's there's, you can make that more of a, fantasy style
yeah,
map like you would find in the back of Might and Magic or whatever, right? You could make those kind of maps with this as well. But it's a great tool because, I mean, first of all, you have a lot of real estate to play with, so you can
yeah,
start off with a small little center kind of thing where you want to kind of base your campaign. You breach from there, and it just grows and grows and grows, right?
precisely.
It's pretty nice.
A lot of yeah, so many things can happen. For
especially
instance,
yeah, especially for a world map, because you give that to your players when you start the game, and then they have the world map, and then they can kind of look and see whatever. You could also give them pieces of the world map, right? So
yeah,
Roar can easily just make this, and then he could save this as the player
I,
handout
I
world
could
map,
just go to
blank out
resize
other
map.
areas.
I could make a new map from the region. So I could basically just say, all right, I want to make a map of the Grimsor Glades, and then boom, I can confirm. It will generate a new map on a higher resolution that I can go in, put in new things more with more details.
Yeah,
Say I could even scrap the whole parchment thing and then make a more photorealistic one, right? One of the
right.
things, and this is a freebie for all of you people out there who have been struggling with some of these things. I started having a map that basically had this here.
Yeah,
This
that's the
was
map play
this
on in Storm Clever Serenar.
yeah, this is basically our original map, right?
Yeah,
And what I found out is if I zoom out and do this, the and confirm it and export it, the whole canvas will be resized to that,
yeah,
and you can expand. So that is how I got from the central part here to actually doing to actually being able to make something that looks like a natural expansion or extension of what I did. Um, and you can do a lot of different things to just make things look interesting. I would say, right? And
yeah. And like Rourke could take like a lot of these things out. Like he could leave the land masses in, but take like a lot of the stuff out because let's
yeah,
say the players haven't gotten there yet. They don't know what's over there or unexplored land. or like hide lands. So the
Yeah.
land's not there, but when they're sailing, all of a sudden they bump into land. What the hell is this? Well, here's the new area of the map that you haven't discovered yet.
Plus, I
So
can
lots
just
of things you
go
can
in
upgrade
here,
and update.
save a clone, and then make a clone where I delete the Calora pact, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, when the maybe there's an island that rises up like Atlantis kind of thing. Maybe there's some a plot twist that happens that all of a sudden a new plot of land goes up, and the adventurers are naturally like, okay, well, go see what that is, right? That's
Oh,
pretty cool. And it's also good because as a DM, you could drop your players into basically whatever you want. Like, here's something you guys need to go explore, and it could be anything, right? So you could literally, you know, choose whatever you want. Um, yeah, I use so I like a detailed world map. I have very different types of world maps for my campaign. I've got I've got the basic world map that looks like a black and white drawing that was basically a literal handout to the actual players. I have one that actually breaks it up into actually sectors, right? And it shows based on who they're actually joining, what their alliances are. So like an alliance war map almost, right? And then I have a map that's fully detailed. I have a map that's zoomed out. I have a link to the entire Forgotten Realms world, the entire world of Toril, so they can actually see exactly where they are and like how minuscule the actual area is. But if they want to travel somewhere else, like with teleportation, go to Waterdeep or something, they definitely can. So, I mean, I love using stuff like this. But like when it comes down to actually like playing on the map, like a lot of these things you could actually edit with your virtual tabletop, such as Roll20 and Foundry and Fantasy Grounds. A lot you actually put like tokens or whatever that the players can actually click on, and it'll actually populate and tell them what you're actually saying. So you could even add more depth to maps outside of Inkarnate, which is really really nice.
yeah, precisely. And you can put notes. Incarnate has its own note tool here. I think just take some of these here. For instance, I made a note here called Anon Rin, just because
Mhm.
I found some Elvish translators, and I wanted to remember that Anon Rin means the Sunset Crown, and that is the name of this city in the Autumn Kingdom Yavasarnat, right?
Yeah,
And that till Tanal meant the Sea Twins, right? So I really like
yeah.
this country, the Yavasarnat. Actually, I think that's really cool place as well.
And there's lots of other map making programs that are coming
Yeah,
out. Dungeon Fog's a nice big one.
yeah. I
Dungeon
haven't
Fog
tried
actually.
that yet.
Yeah, so I kickstarted them. They're kind of in their alpha release right now, but like what they do is they plan on doing the same kind of thing. What you do is you zoom in, and you
hmm,
could zoom in and keep zooming in right till you actually see the town map, and then you can continue zooming in till you see the building map, and I'm pretty sure they want to kind of have that so it works with the actual virtual tabletops that are out there. So that would be something that's pretty amazing. So you use similar kind of tools to make these maps, right? But then
yeah,
you have this interactive thing where the party can actually be like, okay, what is this? And they can, with certain rights, of course, can zoom right into someone's bathroom if they wanted to. It's like you're basically like Google satelliting the entire, you know, your entire campaign world. So lots of cool stuff, lots of very exciting time for virtual tabletop. So
yeah. It is fucking great, and exciting time for Dungeons and Dragons in general. But yeah, for everybody who doesn't really do things or maybe find it scary to build their own world or do their own setting, I'm just going to say, well, this here, we just sat down, and I might be experienced in placing down stamps in a way that looks nice, right? But you just do it. Just sit down and do that. It doesn't need to be realistic. It doesn't need to be whatever. But you saying, okay, there's a town here. This is North Town, and North Town has this kind of thing. And then, what?
yeah,
Then down here, what? Oh, there's an empty place on the map. What kind of thing would be there? Just you
yeah,
answering these kind of logical questions that just arise from being from just looking at a map that you don't even take away yourself, right? That
yeah.
does something.
And it's an amazing place to go for writer's block. Like, so if you're
Yeah,
wondering what your characters are gonna like, what the players are gonna be doing in the party in the next like few sessions or whatever, if you go back to the world making process and start actually like drawing your maps and like saying, you know what, it makes sense for a town to be there. Well, what's up with this town? Well, maybe I don't know that quite yet, but let's we continue to make stuff, and you'll find the creative juices start flowing. right? So like Roar and I just did here, we just did put pen to paper. We actually created races. We have a small little background about them, right? We kind of know who their enemies are, why they build certain things, right? So just with those certain little things, it sparks a creative interest. Like, I mean, right now, I want to know more about these Gigans. I want to know exactly what they're doing, right? So
Precisely, and
there's lots of good stuff. So
it becomes interesting. Let me show
writer's
you
block.
something else
Here,
here.
writer's block with the map.
Let me show you something else, a project I'm working on. This is a map of the city of Staunchflow. This is the first city map I'm making, and I'm finding it very
Should I even be looking at this? Aren't we going there right now?
yeah. That's like you'll see this map yourself. Like
Oh, we gotta
it's
kill the Slinkali first. Oh, it looks like a pentagram, dude.
no, it's a septigram. But you guys know that this is the city of sin, right? So you have a city that was like once like the seat of Mammon, the arch devil, I think, of greed, right? But
Yeah,
here, this is what I'm trying to go for here. So also the parchment style, but with a little more of these nice stamps thrown in for good measure, right?
yeah.
Um, and I don't know. I haven't showed anyone this besides Jonas. I don't know if you like this, Tanner, but I have a definitely. That my idea is to.
No, this is great. When your party enters a place, and theater of mind is a fantastic utility to use.
Yeah,
But if you can give, especially in virtual tabletops, if you can give that actual the visual reference to what you're talking about, is fantastic. Right, giving your players even a map with low details about generally the areas or
yeah,
whatever's going on there, right?
yeah. I could
or,
just make.
or not drawing out small blocks and lines on a virtual tabletop
Yeah,
canvas, giving them something like this, which, I mean, I've made maps like this before. This might take an hour to do, right? After you've gotten used to actually knowing how to do it. And
oh,
like,
this is taking more than 1 hour. I assure you, but that's because I place down every square individually, right?
oh, okay. All right. Yeah. There's certain tools you could use to kind of just throw them up on the map, right?
Yeah, precisely. But I just decided I want to. I might be doing this the hard way, like the unnecessarily hard way.
Yeah,
Um,
but at the same time, I mean, it's I mean, it's you're creating, right? You're
yeah,
creating a city, and you're creating an interactive environment for your story, right? So take your
yeah.
time on it, do it. But again, you don't. It doesn't have to be super pretty.
But I
I mean,
also
it's
like
nice when it is, but like every time Roar gives us a map now, we're gonna want a pretty damn good map. So
well,
you
but you
make
can
your bed, you
also
lie in it, right?
but sometimes you also just go to yeah, fuck that. That's fine. Let me just have a look here. This was just me trying to cut out the Hajari Emirate, right? Um, where I used the resize kind of tool. There we go. Don't you just love it when it goes from 0 to 100 and then it still loads?
And then still loads. Yeah, yeah.
It's just the best
One
feeling.
day we'll have an AI driven loading bar that'll actually make sense.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. There we go. And this, you see, I just cut out the Hajari Emirates, and then I put in some green color around the rivers and the desert. That's it. So now I
Cool.
could fill in more details here, right? If I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
And that
I mean,
is,
this is a huge project. Making an entire world and populating it's a very huge
yeah,
project. Generally, with my campaigns, I start off with a city that they start in, and possibly ruins or another city that they're going to go to within the first chapter of the story. And then I make that, and then I start filling the world out from there. But I also take a lot of stuff from, like for instance, my current campaign that I'm running is based in Forgotten Realms, right? It's based in different time in Forgotten Realms, so a lot of the lore is askew. But it's nice to have that familiarity for the actual players, and if I'm stuck needing to know something, instead of making it up and recording it on the spot, I can kind of say, okay, well, no, that I'll just kind of go back into Wikipedia and find out what's going on with that place in Faerun, right? So
precisely.
there's lots of different ways you could do it.
Yeah, just get a world book, right? I think at some
This
point
was
when
the
I
map
have,
you made in 5 minutes,
yeah, I
right?
made this in 5 minutes. Yeah, and
Yeah,
this is not great, but it's a great example of a visual aid that did its job, right?
yeah. What map did I make? Also, if this one took me just a few minutes to make as well. my party got into an encounter somewhere, and I hate not giving them a virtual representation. See if I can find this thing here. It might take me a minute to load up my Foundry. Just Foundry data. Yeah, I'll send this over to you, Roar.
All right. You can share your screen. I can put that on the.
I'll just send it over to you. It's not a huge file.
Oh, fine.
This one I just called Ice Battle, and this one took me. Upload failed. Upload failed. All right. I will put it. We'll share my screen. One sec. Let me make sure I don't have anything inappropriate on my screen. All right. There you
Don't
go.
you?
So they were on an iceberg, and I just wanted to show them something really quick.
I
And
am
this, like, I
going
was able
to.
to.
All right, sure. Yeah, that is fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to just shift over here. There you go. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was able to boot this one up and get it set up in no time at all. So took me 5 minutes. It was a battle map. It was gridded and everything ready to go. Just drug it onto the map, and next thing you know, instead of being on a blank canvas or whatever, they actually had something to actually look at, right? And there was even points during this battle where ice broke off, and I was able actually to move the ice for them, right? So lots of cool stuff. But yeah, Foundry's great. You're in, you're out. I mean, you can make something on the fly super quick.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Right. So, all right. I'm just going to. There you go. I'm going to go back here to your face, Tanner. All
Go
right.
back to my pretty face.
To your pretty face. All right. It seems like
Oh,
you're
just my face? It's just me. Okay. Well, it's just us.
just you, Tanner. I don't know. Now you're lagging
No,
again.
it's
But
nice.
I think we're about done for today. We've been doing some world building. It's been very interesting. I would say to look at these things with you, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you again later, and also the rest of the cast. Figuring out what kind of weird places we're going to make up is going to be super interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
we also have we Roar and I about a month back or so recorded a few just kind of general D&D quotes, like how to build a character, what is D&D, why do we play it. It goes into how we got into these things and how we kind of explain them to people in a more natural way instead of like some sort of feed format or whatever. It's just it's a talking head conversation, more like a podcast form, but we'll be releasing it onto YouTube as well within the next week or so. Now that we have all this art and shit that we've got up, so yeah. So I know this is on Twitch right now, but we will be restreaming on, or not restreaming, but posting this onto YouTube. Hopefully, sometime in the next 48 hours after it's been edited a little bit.
yeah,
And if you have any suggestions or things you want to hear from some senior players, please put it down in the chat, and we'll get back to you. Or you can post it on our Reddit feed. Please send us an email to epicboon@gmail.com.
precisely. And if you want your name on a city, then just write it. We'll figure it out.
We're gonna have to we're gonna raffle off city names.
Yes, Great Johannesburg. Wow, very good.
every Twitch subscription gets to name a city in Serenar.
All right, so you all arrived to the quaint mountain village of Noob Stomper 420.
That's funny.
We'll see. All right. Um, Thank you all for watching, and please come and see our actual play. I think that is going to be next Thursday. So uh,
Next Thursday, yeah. Well, we just posted today our first part of last week's, and then we'll be posting this Thursday our second part. So that's tomorrow. So you got lots to catch up on, and thank you all for who came in and viewed our Twitch stream for our new for our last session. We actually had almost 100 people come and view it, so that's pretty impressive compared to what we've been doing. So hopefully we're going places.
well, if not, at least we're having a lot of fun. All right. Thank you, everybody, and
At least we have each other, Roar.
yes, yes.
All right. See you guys
See you
later.
guys.